Hello and welcome to the hand spun episode. So today I wanted to talk about hand spinning yarn and the sustainability aspect of it, of course. Hello, my name is Lily. I am a 37-year-old sustainable focused knitting designer and creative entrepreneur, artist and video creator. You have just stumbled upon my new chapter in my creative life, a new podcast, and I am very excited about it. So I dropped the first episode already on Sunday, so if you haven't seen that already, you can of course either click here right now and start there, or you can watch it afterwards. But I basically go through a little bit of the history of who I am, where my journey started with this channel, because it is recently rebranded into Forest Knits. It used to be online as Nordic Stitches, but I'm not going to talk about that today. Today I'm going to talk about my hand spun yarn.
Spinning your own yarn is a beautiful, creative, sustainable, and mindful outlet, which I highly encourage as many as possible to give a try. So thank you for tuning in today. I appreciate it very much. Now let's get into the video.
So my hand spinning journey started in 2017 when I don't know why it popped up as a suggestion on YouTube, but it was a suggestion of a video from someone who had spun yarn. It was a picture of this hand spinner, so drop spindle, and I was like, what's that? And I'm born with a few extra doses, if you will, of creativity, and I'm also born very curious. And together, those have ensured that I have been able to teach myself things like advanced knitting, crochet, sewing, embroidery, and all the things. And so when I saw this video of this hand spinner and this hand spun yarn, I was intrigued. And well, I ended up, of course, buying a starter set from somewhere on Etsy. And I do not know how many days and weeks I spent trying to learn from YouTube, but at that time I could not find a video that suited me and my way of learning, so I ended up just taking the basics of what I had seen and heard and just feeling my way and trying it out. And in the end, well, at the beginning, in the end, I got this cute little thing. This is a one ply, very odd. It hasn't been opened since 2017. Hand spun yarn in various thicknesses. It is 100% merino. I haven't labeled it, but all the yarns that I got in the beginning were 100% merino, even though people said you shouldn't start with slicky yarn. I am of the impression that when you start something, the only thing you should do is not for the first not tell people what they should and shouldn't do. That is just a very bad habit. But also do what you want, because that ensures that you're going to be happy. So if you're a beginner knitter, for example, and you want to knit color work, knit color work. Because if you don't, you're just gonna sit there wishing. I digress. So this is the first yarn that I ever spun. I don't know the grams, I don't know how many meters. I just know that it is precious. It's probably somewhere around between 5 or 10 grams. The second yarn that I spun is in this ghastly neon green. Oh goodness me. It is also, I did not know how to ply, because again, I was just feeling my way. I'm just gonna remove my scrunchie. I was just feeling my way. There we go. I'm just recording this with my phone because I don't have any fancy cameras. So yeah, it's got a little bit of a twist in there. All the yarns I spin to this day still have a lot of twist, but that's because I want to make sure that I put extra twist into my yarn so that it lasts longer. It's been like that since 2017. I just want to stay that way now. So that is the second yarn that I spun. So first yarn, second yarn. Then I grabbed some neon-ish pink. This is also before I started plying. My wicker chair is making lovely sounds. I just love it when it squeaks. It's like walking across an old floor, and if it doesn't squeak, there's something wrong. I need a squeak in my life. Anyway, so this yarn is just, yeah, it's like the green. It's ghostly, but you know, it's from a starter kit, so I just needed it to learn. I was not planning on using this yarn for anything. It will be used in the future, but not until I have learned how to weave, because that is on the agenda. So for all the yarns that I'm showing you now in the beginning that were for the probably first week that I'm showing you now at the beginning of this video, one day I'm gonna put them into a weaving project and put them in a frame, because you know that's where my handspun journey started, and I just want to make sure to make it into something instead of just having it here like so, laying in a plastic bag. Then I decided to try and ply. So this is white and black, obviously, super soft. So for this one I didn't put much spin into the yarn, because I started to realize that it was making my yarn a little harder, because at that point I didn't know that when you beat the yarn to get the extra spin out, it actually poofs up the yarn, it makes it soft. I did not know that when I made this yarn. So this is just as I left it in 2017. Then I continued plying with different colors. So, oh no, this is loose. Yeah, because I didn't know how to tie. Of course it's loose. I did not know how to tie around, so I just looped it and I just put it away. Goodness me, I remember it now. Oh, the memories are coming back. It's all coming back to me now. This is also very soft, because again, I didn't know that when I beat the yarn it would make it soft and poofy again, so yeah, that's just how it is. And it just, this is probably when I started to realize that green and white together is something that I really, really like. There's nothing more beautiful to me than a pine forest or a spruce forest, you know, any kind of needled thread. In Norwegian we say nortre, because they have these little needles on them, so it's just a, you know, blanket term for pine, and yeah. So I digress, but you know, you be patient and I will get there eventually. Moving on to the next yarn, also very loosely spun. This was a little more And you can see that I still have a lot of thickness to it here. But I also see here that this is probably around the time when I started to discover. So this is yarn number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is the 5th yarn that I spun. And I'm seeing here that this is probably around the time when I started to get really confident with the drop spindle to make sure that it wasn't dropping to the floor too often, because that still happens today. Oh goodness me, I have not one drop spindle that hasn't been fixed with either glue or tape. It's sad, but there you go. And then there's this yarn, and all of this is very colorful, and I'm not a very colorful person. I'm very muted. I'm not very muted, but my colors of choice are very muted and natural. So looking back at all this yarn, I would probably, if I started today, I would choose a different starter pack, but you know, gotta start somewhere. And so this yarn is a little fun, you know, if you love colors. It's got pinks and purples and blues, and then I applied it with a white. And again, this is a lot more even. It has less of these chunky bits here, for example. You can see there's chunky bits here. There's less of that here. You can see from this yarn to this that there's improvement. So, oh, I tied yarn around here. Well, string, rather. Oh, so cool. And then the last yarn, so that's all the yarn that was in the starter pack. This, in this order. Starting there, going to there. So I not only increased my skill level in terms of the spinning, but I also increased the size of the skein. And then, in addition to the test, the starter kits, goodness me, I also bought a 50 gram braid with this fiber. A little more muted, still a little too colorful for me, but again, you gotta start somewhere. If, like I said, if I were to start again today, I would choose a different color palette that suited me better, because I think that would have made the process even more fun. So here, my tension, well, my spin rather, is a lot more even. Still a lot of unevenness to it, but getting there. Now I have used the yarn that I spun after this. So before I continue showing you my hand spun, I'm going to show you what I knit from the yarn that I spun next. This is a pattern that I designed. Not sure that I will be rebranding it. If you want to see it back, then let me know. This is the next yarn that I spun. Very much greens and muted blues, pale muted blues. And then I finished it off with a green here, and then a white I-cord edge at the bottom. I love green, and I don't know why. I don't have more. It smells like vinegar. Don't know why that is. I have green eyes. I love green. I love green and white. So this is actually kind of perfect. I should wear it more. The reason I don't wear it more is because this yarn, so I went from knowing that I was spinning very loosely to realizing that I was spinning too loosely. So I, of course, then changed things up and started spinning too hard. So this yarn is actually very stiff. Both this yarn and this second green here, they are very stiff. And that is saying something, because all of these are 50% merino and 50% silk. And to have silk and merino feel stiff, You gotta put a lot of twist in there. So that's where that next yarn ended up, in this shawl. Now we're gonna drive into my basket of finished yarns. I showed you this at the end of episode 1, and I finished with talking about my cat fur that I'm spinning into yarn. So I'm gonna start there today. This is the cat yarn. I'm just gonna place the rest of it on the floor. So let me introduce my cat. My cat is 4. She turned 4 yesterday when I'm recording this. She is a Norwegian forest cat adopted through Dyrebeskyttelsen, which is a Norwegian non-funded from the government animal rescue. And she is a very long-furred cat. She is poofy, she is fluffy, and she is ginormous. She's very cuddly, she's got her kinks, she's got a little bit of nerves going on, but she's cool around me and she's very cuddly around me, but sadly she's not a lap cat. One day I hope though that she will be. But she does produce these absolutely lovely, gorgeous, soft, wonderful yarn. Her fur is so soft, it's like touching a cloud. And this yarn has taken 3 years to spin. She turned 4, she came to me when she was, wait, am I lying now? 2020? No, 3 years. This has taken 3 years, and it is approximately 50 grams of yarn. Because she's got all that fur, I brush her numerous times a day. Now, because she's a cat, there are times during the year where she just sheds less. Meaning that this is probably the most precious yarn I will ever have. Also, it's vegan friendly because it is pet yarn. This cat yarn is absolutely beautiful. It is all 3-ply on the drop spindle. And I can't wait to put it into the garment that it will be the color for the color work in. And that's all I'm gonna say about that. So like I say, when I brush her, it ends up with a little bit of floof here that I take off and put on the drop spindle. Let's see if I can find my drop spindle that I'm using for the cat fur. I'm just gonna put the cat fur away. That sounds so strange. So this is the newly started. I just take it off. And it's not easy spinning cat yarn because it doesn't have the same sticky properties as wool does. Even merino has a little bit more sticky properties than my cat's fur does. But it's not something new, spinning with pet fur. It's been done for thousands of years. I'm assuming thousands of years, at least hundreds of years. So I just attach it. Receiving guests now. Right, so before I left you, I was talking about the cat yarn, and I was also about to show you the yarns that I have spun. So we are going to jump into the basket. I can first tell you about my spindles. Almost all the spindles that I have purchased from Spin City UK, Louise. Except for this one. This is not a Spin City drop spindle, and this one is from Spin City Louise, but she included it as a gift when I purchased some fiber from her a couple of years ago. So drop spindles from Spin City UK, no idea. This is the most fancy spindle that I have, and it was almost impossible to spin with. They had coated it with something, and I actually ended up having to sand the shaft here so that it was so that I could use it, basically. I don't ever again want to say out loud the amount that I spent on this spindle, because not only was it expensive compared to the spinning quality. The quality of the spindle is fine, but the spinning quality wasn't as good as I had expected for that price. But I also had to pay 25% customs to the Norwegian government because I ordered it from the outside. And let's just say that I'm never ever going to get rid of that spindle. This is with note paper, a piece of note paper, some musical note paper in there. Let's see if I can make it focus a little bit better. There we go. And as you can tell, it's been fixed a lot with glue because I've dropped it to the floor numerous times. Ah! This one isn't fixed because I haven't used it much. So the gifted spindle from Louise. There we go. It's got a little bit of lace and glitter in there. These are resin, and I'm guessing that it's plastic resin. I don't know. I bought all of these before I started my sustainable creative journey. And this one has just some lovely geometric pattern in there. And this one, I'm just gonna remove. The last time I used this, I spun cat yarn and I wrote the date that I started so that I knew how long it took me to spin 20 grams. 5 months, if you're wondering. This is pressed flowers. And I think that was it. Yes, I'm just gonna put this back in the bag because I'm gonna talk about that at the end. Let's go through the hand spun yarn basket. I'm just gonna try and not knock you down. So this is spun from 100 grams flake, so that's just a big square of fiber or rectangle depending on. It goes from light to dark, so it starts with this color, transitions into this color, which then again transitions into this color, that then again transitions into this color. So I'm thinking that this, together with white in a brioche shawl, at some point in the future. I am a monogamous knitter now. I didn't always used to be, but now I am. I prefer having only one private knit outside my work knits, and I only have one work knit at the time on the go. So right now I am working on my Scandinavia mitten rebrand with all the extra added patterns there as my work knits that I talked about in the previous episode. So if you want to see that, that's all talked about in there. And then for my private knit now, I have the sweater project that I also talked about in the previous episode. So if you want to see all the things that are on my needles, then all you have to do is watch the previous episode. I won't be casting on anything else for myself until I have completed my sweater project that I showed you in the previous episode. So one day. Also, fiber face. Also, I have a lot of accessories and very little garments, so someday in the future, just not now. I have quite a bit of natural undyed merino. Some of this is 2-ply, some of it is 3-ply, and I spin all my 2-ply and 3-ply from one ball of yarn so that I don't waste any. I know that a lot of people like to ply from different balls, but I don't do that because if I use the one ball, then I can use it all. I can use all the fibers. I don't have any leftovers, and that's just how I prefer to do it. Gorgeous, gorgeous fiber. This used to be just like this, but sadly in 2018, late winter into 2018, I decided that I wanted to try to dye yarn with onion peels, not giving a think about how I would like the result. Even though I knew what color I was going to expect, I decided to go for onion peels. I regret that choice. I've had this yarn in the stash ever since, and I do not wish to use it because it has this dirty old pinkish tone with brown under hue to it, and it's not my color scheme at all. So at some point in the future, 2-3 years into the future, I will probably try to over dye this and make it into a brown color. But yarn dyeing isn't something that I'm very good at, so maybe at some point I will also take a course in that. You know, because I can use that for different things as well, not just yarn. Natural dyeing, it's beautiful. Mother Earth provides. Then there's the grey. There's a little less in this one because I've used it, but I'm going to show you what I have knit with my hand spun at the end of this episode. But yeah, this is 100% merino, and I can't understand how I remember what fiber content is in all of these yarns, but I do, and that is despite the fact that I've only measured the grams and the meters, and I have not written on this tiny little note anything else. Nothing wrong with the brain at this point of my life anyway. This is a pink fade that started with white. Now I don't know why I spent all the money that I did on this fiber, because I don't use pink much. I talked about this when I talked about the cardigan that I was wearing in the previous episode as well. Don't understand the pink. There's no logic behind all the pink that I have. But it is a fade that started with white, so I just separated all the white and spun that into its own, and I kept this as a fade. It is all 3-ply, even though some are thicker than the others. This is 100%, no, this is 50-50% merino and silk. Sadly, it's also pink, so don't know what I'm ever gonna do with that, but there you go. The last hand spun yarn that I'm gonna show you while you wobble on my table there is this little bouquet. Little bouquet. So this is one of 2 fiber gifts that I was ever sent when I had this channel under Nordic Stitches. This is 100% alpaca. It came in a braid with all the colors in one, so I separated the colors because you can make apparently a lot of different colors from one braid. So for example, these 2 are the opposites, the darkest brown and the white undyed. The brown is probably also undyed, but it was oddly enough, it was stiffer to spin with, and I don't know if that is because the brown alpaca has stiffer hair. They have hair, they don't have fur. I don't know if that's the case, but I do know that it was a little stiffer to spin with. Not that it matters much, but that also means the yarn is a little stiffer than the natural white. So this is, I would love to say that I remember who sent me this alpaca fiber. Over 350 grams of fiber she sent me. And I kept the card that she included with the fiber, and I had it there, and I meant to one day talk about it in social media, just saying thank you, sending a message to the person. The thing is that between when I got this fiber as a gift and opened the card and read it, everything has been living in a box or in a bag, and I haven't opened the card since I received it and read it upon the arrival of the fiber. And then when I moved here, I opened the bag with the fiber and the spinning project, because I started the spinning project before I moved, and the card wasn't there when I got here. Which makes me sad, because I don't know who to thank for this gorgeous, gorgeous gift that I enjoyed so much spinning into yarn. So if you're watching this by any chance now, please let me know who you are so I can give you a proper thank you. And I'm sorry that I managed to not only not memorize who you are, but also not bring the card with me. It is time to talk about what I have knit with my hand spun yarn. One of the shawls, because like I mentioned in the previous episode, again, all I focused on for years painfully aware now, it was almost a decade, was accessories. Which is why the previous episode was titled The Wardrobe Project, because I have enough of things like this now. Most of the things that I spent the last almost a decade knitting, I don't have. Again, watch the previous episode. But I do have a few things. Like I said, one of the shawls I don't have because I gifted it to my mom. This I talked about briefly, and I'm just going to chuck that aside for now. I've also spun a brioche shawl that I talked about in the previous episode. All my hand spun yarn, 100% merino and 50% silk for the white, so 50-50 merino and silk, and 100% merino for the one here in the front. It is a little bit on the small side, but it is very soft and very squishy, which is very fitting because it is called the squishy shawl. It's got a French name as well, but I don't do French pronunciation, except for a few phrases that I'm not gonna say here. I've also knit a brioche beanie with grey, which was the yarn that I showed you, and white greenish color. And last year it didn't fit me, and somehow now it does. Maybe my head has shrunk. Anyway, this is sort of like my spring and early autumn beanie that I wear when I'm just out in the forest or nature just walking. It's not a very warm beanie, even though it's brioche and handspun on non-superwash, but there you go. I don't know if I've already said this, but all the fiber and all the handspun that I have and the finished items are non-superwash, and they are 100% natural materials. So they are going to keep me warm. And I'm sorry, but that's it. That's all I've knit with my handspun, and I've been spinning yarn a little bit since 2017. And as you can see, I haven't really spun a lot, but then again, I don't want to mass produce. And as you can see, I already have a pile of handspun yarn that I'm not using. So continuing to buying fiber to spin yarn isn't something that I'm going to do until I've actually started knitting with it, and until I have learned to spin on a spinning wheel or an e-spinner that I can have on the table. But I will show you the fiber that I do have. Now, I have gifted away a lot of handspun yarn and fiber. I'm never again going to buy colors that I don't enjoy just to have something to spin. So now I stick with my neutral colored tones. Sadly, I bought these from a picture on Facebook. There are two colors that I do not enjoy. One is orange, the other is purple. I'm not really, come to think of it, also red. So there's three colors that I really don't enjoy. Red, purple, and orange. And so, not really sure what I'm gonna do with this. I might actually, instead of spinning it into yarn, use it as stuffing in little heart stuffies that I knit or whatever. So the only one out of these three that I really enjoy is this one. So there you go. But at least they're soft and they are non-superwash. No, it doesn't say anywhere here what kind of fiber content it is. Goodness me, that smells so good. It's like a high when you're a fiber nerd. I've also purchased these two from a Norwegian online shop at Epra. Ullbua. This is Finnish wool called Humbug. Love that. Love the mix of the greens and the dark blues and the browns. Very natural, very forest, which is very fitting because my last name Skog actually means forest. Norwegian luxury. Approximately 100 grams each of these. yeah, this one I'm very particularly excited about. So this is 100% Finnish wool, but this is a mix of Norwegian wool and rose fiber, which is the first time that I have my hands on something that has plant fiber in it that I can spin into yarn. Now, I'd like to try banana fiber. I'd like to try rose fiber and all the plant fibers that you can get your hands on, but I don't know where to get it. I will have to look into the Swedish fiber market and also spin some yarn and use some yarn before I start. I can't defend buying something that I'm not going to be spinning or using at the present time. So but these two are definitely an item of some kind in the future. The last fiber I have is in plastic, so I'm gonna get the crinkling out of the way and then talk about it. 4 packs. And this is the colors. This also has a very interesting fiber blend. This I have bought from Spindles and Stitches, and this is so cool. 70% merino with 23 microns, so it's super soft. And it's got 14% pearl fiber. What? Definitely have to learn more about that. Also, it has 8% baby camel, also super soft. Never spun with wait. Yes, I've spun with camel before, actually. And I've also got 8% yak in here. So it is a very luxurious fiber blend that I got way too cheap off her website, just saying. So that's all my hand spun yarn. That's a little bit backstory of my hand spinning journey and the fibers that I have and my drop spindles. If there's anything that I haven't mentioned that you're curious about in regards to my hand spinning journey, then of course the comment section is right there. Let me know if you enjoyed this episode. Goodness me, I've been meaning to make this episode since way before. The last fiber I have is here with the drop spindle that I said that I was gifted from Spin City Louise in my order. Again, crinkle alert, so I'm gonna get the crinkle out of the way and show you the exclusive fiber that I was gifted by Christine. Found something else in there as well. So this is one of the most pretty project bags that I have. But this, so each of these are 4 ounces. Is that 100 grams or 50 grams? The fiber blend is silk and yak. Look at that sheen. I like luxury. I think this is a full staple length, but spinning with it is a challenge for me because it drafts differently than other fibers that I've used, and also it's going to be a very long-term project spinning up all of this beautiful fiber because I have a couple of back injuries. I have noticed that after I turned 30, these back injuries have actually gotten a little worse. Sadly, the spinning process is one of the things that is hurtful for my back injuries, and I've had to come to terms with that I can't drop spin anymore, at least as much as I would like. I can drop spin for about 5 minutes before I feel my back starting to ache, and you can't really spin a lot of fiber in 5 minutes. So this beautiful, exquisite fiber blend that Christine sent me is probably going to take me at least a year to complete. This is just the first bits that I've spun. Also, it's spinning differently, it's drafting differently than what I'm used to, so that's also going to play into part. But it is so luxurious that I can't not spin it into yarn. So, oh, my fiber face is going crazy. So I will spin it into yarn, but it is definitely a very long-term project. watch this space, ... The last fiber that I'm going to show you that I didn't remember that I have is, this was also a gift from Christine. And it is a Tussa silk top. Not really sure about the grams. Because it is silk, it is so soft. And also, I can't wait to, again, one day spin this into yarn. What I think though, is that besides the now Spun started spinning project with the Yak silk top that Christine sent me, I'm gonna wait with this until I have a good handle on either my spinning wheel or my e-spinner, because very luxurious fiber indeed. If you can't tell by now, I like luxury. And I'm not gonna be ashamed of saying so. I didn't always appreciate the feel of the luxury, but I have definitely come to appreciate it in my adulter years. Because I've always been an adult when on YouTube, but in my even more adult years now, pushing 40, which I can't wait for, by the way. Oh my goodness, what a privilege to be able to say that I push 40. I have been in way too many funerals for people who haven't turned 30. Not gonna complain about the fact that I'm pushing 40. And of course I hope to be able to push 40, you know, rounding, because I have one heck of a party planned for that entire week. So very excited about that. But that is completely sidetracking. So I think that was it for my fiber episode. I think it is a lot longer than I intended it to be. So thank you for sticking out with me and my ramblings, and for spending your non-refundable time with me. It is so greatly appreciated. And if you enjoyed my chatter and my yarn and the fiber and the little bit of a story behind my spinning journey, then feel free to give me a like or a comment, or maybe even both. It helps the channel out after having been in slumber for 3 years now, coming back trying to liven it up again. So you help me do that by hitting that thumbs up and leaving a comment below. And of course, if you see a comment down below that you agree with, feel free to comment back. Community, it's beautiful. And until I see you again next, in the next video, have a lot of creative fun. Be kind, be good, spread love and acceptance, and embrace diversity.